So here's what I did. I kept the F. I agree it needs to go to F there. One way to get to F is this. You go C7. Makes sense, right? C7 is the fifth of F. We do that all the time. But we can have this rising thing in the bass. So we can have... So we got the 1, 3, 4, right? Climbing up the scale. You don't have to do it. You could have the C there. Now here's what I've done this time. To get back to C, one trick is to use F sharp diminished. I'm sure you will have heard stuff like that before, right? And those of you who know the Basie moves, the Count Basie moves that I teach, that sort of thing. Then the second time, I don't want to do it the same. A lot of people do that the same. In fact, they don't do this. They tend to do this second one more. The second one I have is... Didn't use the E in the bass that time. 4 minor, which we used in the last song as well, right? So the cool thing about doing these in C is you can see the things that they have in common. Then 1, 6, 2, 5. See how we got a C there in the melody, so it must be C6. It shouldn't be C major 7, okay? And then we got 1, 6, 2, 5. But it could be any form of 1, 6, 2, 5. It doesn't have to be a straight 1, 6, 2, 5. I can't play E minor because of that C, so I could play C over E. Flat 3 diminished, E flat diminished, 2, 5. That's a turnaround. We could have E7, A7, D7, G7. That's a turnaround we play instead of 1, 6, 2, 5. Why? Because, as I said, we might go 3, 6, 2, 5. Not in this case because of the tune. But then when we keep pushing the boundaries with that turnaround, we end up with 3 dominant, E7, A7, D7, and G7, right? Let's see if I can make it work here. Yeah. So, you know, play around with those things and make them your own. It doesn't even matter if you do stuff like that with a backing track that's not doing it. Let me show you what I mean. 1, 2, 3. So I can get away with it, even if the band's not doing it. You know, and that's true in improv as well. I hear Charlie Parker, for example, I hear him play turnarounds that the band are not playing. And then some bright spark writes a book about it and all these scientific reasons why he might have played this note or that note and how that sits against this chord. Actually, he's just playing a different turnaround a lot of the time, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like Barry says, he says, there are many ways to get home. Sometimes we'll be together and sometimes we won't, and that's okay. Especially the quicker the tempo. You know, I think if you do that in a ballad, it might be a bit dangerous. But when the tempo's up, if you've got a different turnaround, it's fine. Okay, so let's continue on with this tune. 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, and then the same thing for this is an AABA tune. So that's the second A going past. There's some very important stuff at the end of the second A and in the B section that will require us talking. In the bridge, we've got 2, 5, 1 to F. Let's see what they did in the original there. Well, I don't know if it's the original, but you know, whatever chords they're on. Like, oh, just F. All F, right? So I made it 2, 5, 1 to F, so to have more tension and release. We're here, right? Under this section here. 2. Now this note doesn't look like it should work. Ben, I bet you'd write to me about it. Rightly so. B natural on a C7. This fella here. Now, to make, like I said to you, sometimes I've got to do slightly underhanded stuff to make them fit in, otherwise they just won't, and you'll be stuck with the basic old chords, right? Well, there is a move. This is something I learned from Barry. Very beautiful thing. There is a move where D diminished goes to C7. Those people who know movement, I'm going to talk. That's if you're a beginner and just getting fluent. That's enough info to understand, because you can play that D diminished there. More advanced people, I'll give you a different explanation for that. So we can go D diminished to C7. D diminished, C7. So we get this. Notice I just went in some sort of contrary motion in the left. So I took that A flat going down to G. Okay. More advanced people, I'll give you a different explanation. We have movement scales. C major 6 to D diminished makes a movement scale, right? C minor 6 to D diminished makes a movement scale. But so does C7 sometimes. C7 D diminished, C7 D diminished. And before you say, oh, it's horrible, it's not. You can play exactly that. It's not horrible at all, it's beautiful, right? You can play all kinds of nice things. 2-5, 2. Here's the movement. You can play some really nice things with it, okay? So that's what I've utilized there. We'd need a little passing chord, that D diminished. And then we'd need it again, of course, on the next part, because it's exactly the same. And then, in the next line, we've got the same problem on D7. Look at that, Ben. You were asking me about notes that shouldn't work. Well, this is right on a chord as well. It's exactly the same thing, a tone below. So we'll do it on D7. 2-5, diminished to dominant. So it will be E diminished to D7. So the scale will be, for more advanced people, D7, E diminished, D7, E diminished, D7, E diminished, D7, E diminished, D7. Okay. I know they sound strange out of context, but they're beautiful in context. So here that will be E diminished to D7. So I think that's the bridge taken care of. Let's see. D7 joins it up, because that's the dominant of G minor. Then, same thing down, upper tone. We can play diminished here if we want, E7, which is the same as G sharp diminished, so I took G sharp diminished there. It's a choice you can make. 2-5. And then we've got the same sort of thing as we had before, right? So what I'll do with this one, I'll just have a quick play through it, just so you can hear it all in action. Something like that.